All right, welcome back to another arrow diagram video. Continuing to explore this representation. On this one, we're going to use an arrow diagram to evaluate a function. This is something certainly that you wouldn't necessarily have difficulty with. We're evaluating, I guess I don't have it defined as a function here. We're going to evaluate an expression. And we'll have a little discussion about order of operations as we go along here. So to begin with, the idea here is that there's an input-output relationship here, and the input begins with a D, so we'll build our arrow diagram for that. First step, squaring. On my second step, I actually have a couple of choices that I could put on here. I will go ahead, as I did in the last one, and put the D squared in here. I'm at this point going to multiply by -2. Now in later videos we'll find that it may be helpful to break that into 2 steps, but for now I get the -2d squared, and I see the -2d squared showing up there, which is in part verifying my order of operations. And then we will add 4 onto that. That gives me -2d squared plus 4. And then finally, the whole thing gets divided by 5. I'm going to write it as a 1/5 times, just because a different way to do the same thing. And I end up with that -2d squared plus 4 all over 5 when I do that. So this one specifically asks me to evaluate this expression for when d is equal to -3. So I'm going to pick a color here. I'll start with blue like I did before. And what I'm going to do on the input side of this first arrow, I'm going to put a -3 there, and then I'm going to do what the arrow says to do. So the arrow says take the -3, put it in the parentheses, square it, and I get a 9 out. The 9 now at the end of the blue arrow is at the beginning of the red arrow. And so it goes into the parentheses on the red arrow. It says do -2 times 9. That gives me a -18. The -18 is at the end of the red arrow, but the beginning of the green arrow. So it's the output of the red, it's the input of the green. And the green arrow says take whatever's on the input side of this and add 4. So that gets me to a -14. And -14 is the output, output of the green. It's the input of the black arrow. So 1/5 times that is -14/5, and that's the value of that expression when d is equal to -3. This does definitely follow the order of operations, and it's something that if we played around with the order of these arrows, we would find that it really messes things up. If I tried the red arrow first, and then put the squaring arrow on there, and I'll leave the other ones in order as they are, add 4, and multiply by 1/5. If I start now with a -3 here and multiply by -2, I get a 6. My 6 squared becomes 36. 36 plus 4 is 40, and 1/5 of 40 is 8, which is definitely not equal to -14 over 5. We can see that this captures the order of operations that way as well. So just in case you're not paying that much attention, this is the wrong arrow diagram for what's going on there.